This was not pre-coordinated.
Definitely not. And first of all, thanks. And clearly, if there's somebody that deserves being called the original, after Yossi and all of that, of the new generation, it's actually Guy here, and not me. I'm a newcomer to this. But I think that angel investing today has become a pretty material part of the ecosystem in Israel, but of course in the Valley before. It's actually now, I think it's a period where it's relatively the easiest to raise angel investing because there's right now a proliferation of angels. But I do think that not all angels are made the same. I think that there's a huge difference between just giving out money and trying to help the companies. Not that we run the companies, not that we are all. I think that at the end of the day, when a venture chooses the angel investor, there is today a huge difference between choosing somebody who's been just giving out money, as you said, or somebody that helps the companies. That the reality there, of course, that not everybody can help any company. And so, what I always urge entrepreneurs is to find the right angel investor for them, to find the person that is not just the right person that they can work with, but also the person that knows their business and can help them as much as possible. And what I try to do is I try, each one of the companies I invest in, I try to spend, I try not to sit on official boards because that's usually a waste of energy. But I try to sit down and work with the founders as much as I can. I think that it is, as Yahal said, it's an amazing period. And today with very little money, you can achieve a lot. Although I have to say that I still haven't yet seen that many companies that with $300,000 became really profitable and really grew up to be big companies. At the end of the day, even in today's cloud services and so on, you still need a few millions in most cases to build proper companies. And I think that when we look at Israel's angel ecosystem has become one of the best I know. I think that has been something that a few years ago was a gap in the market. Israel had VCs for many years. And very professional VCs. But if you looked at, 10 years ago, there was not enough people that went out of the industry, people that actually made their exits and then turned back and invested. And you didn't have that in many fields. So you had it in telecom, but you didn't have it in many places in software, you didn't have it in games, or you didn't have it in other areas. What we have today, we have many people from many industries that are now, they come with specific knowledge and specific capabilities. Now they turn back, they don't go back to working after they sold their company, but they start investing in specific fields. And that is now the anchors of much of the growth we're seeing today, especially around areas like gaming, where Israel 10 years ago had very little, and today there's some of the largest gaming companies in the world are in Israel, namely Pekka and Plarium and some others. And they're spawning people that are basically investing in other companies. B2C, we have people from Waze, we have people from other companies. So this is really becoming a really critical part of the ecosystem.
And so typically you're talking about people who, being angel investors, invest in their area of expertise or knowledge.
So
rather than falling in love with a great inventor or a great invention.
So the mental process of most angel investors is that we think we understand. We invest in things that we think we understand. Clearly, in most cases, we don't, but this is the mental bias. If we were aware of this, we wouldn't be investing. And so there's if I look at myself, there are a few areas where I feel very comfortable. So the majority of my investment would be around them. And then as you go farther from my core expertise, there would be less and less investments, up to the point where there's some things I invested in only because I knew the founder and I really like him, or there's another investor I think he's a real pro. Which of course is usually a mistake. If you invest based on somebody else's intuition, you're going to end up losing your money.
And it's more intuition based? Is there any form of due diligence that you're able to do?
Clearly, unlike funds, I don't think we need, I don't think most angels conduct a very professional due diligence because we don't have the duty as we don't manage other people's money, so we can allow it. So most angels I know are much more focused on choosing the team, which of course VCs are also focused on choosing the team, but they do a pretty comprehensive process. For me, the process is, it's 70% the team, or if I can quantify it. But then after the team, what I have is I tap my network, and I would take the concept or the domain, and I'll tap the network to see what comes up. Either there's a few other angel investors that I appreciate that I would send things to, and I would also, Guy, for example, there are fields that if I invest in, I would always ask him what he thinks, and there's some others that I would do in Israel and in the United States. But then after that, I think that the biggest asset I have that I've built over the years is the ability to, to pick up the phone and call somebody in Google or somebody in Facebook and get their opinion, which in many cases is 10 times better than, than trying to investigate it on my own. I also spend time over the internet looking for things, because many times you'd be surprised how many times people come to you with a venture, and then with 5-minute browsing you find that there's 2 big companies already doing it and 5 different startups, and they either don't know or don't tell you. So that's more or less the process. But in most, the best investments I ever made are those that looked really stupid or really, with very little chances of success at the time of investment. I always tell the story that when I invested in Kenshu, which is, it's a very good company, probably, about to go public, $1 billion plus. Very happy about that one.
$1 billion plus?
Yeah. And when I invested, they do tools for companies to manage their SCM, their search engine marketing. And at the time when I invested, the leader in this field was DoubleClick. And the guy that ran DoubleClick was a good friend of mine, a guy called David Rosenblatt. And he's extremely smart. And I asked David about the investment in the company. And he said, you've got to be kidding. We're already doing it for years. We're leading. There's no chance in the world that a small company out of Israel would ever manage to do that. And I really like the team. They're a team of, they're real pros. And I looked at them and I said, if they're not going to succeed like this, then they're going to move slightly here, and it's going to be okay. And I always, whenever I meet David, I tell him that it probably cost me like $10 or $15 million, because maybe if he said it's great, I would have invested more. So many of these investments, I always say that if you take a McKinsey consultant, a really smart one, and you let him due diligence all of the investments I've made before I've made them, I would invest in nothing. Because there's always a good explanation why not to invest. There's a bigger company doing it, somebody else has more capabilities, they don't have enough money, if they're going to be slightly successful, Google's going to run and do it. There's always explanations. But we're optimists. I don't know any angel investor who's a pessimist. Investors, also VC ones, need to be optimists. We need to be believers. We need to be believers that a small group of people that are highly motivated and that like to work together, enjoy what they're doing, and really, really have a passion for what they do, they can beat a team of 400 people in a big organization. And history proves that that's actually the case. So to sum up, I think a lot of it is intuition.
Gotcha. You didn't mention luck, by the way. We have Lucas, and then, sure.
Just one sentence here, and I do think that Gigi should, or a representative of the angel investors should be on this panel as well, because there is a major milestone is happening now. I think the first time that an Israeli angel investor is out of his one investment is worth more than $1 billion now. So this just happened recently. I don't know if you all know what I'm referring to. I think that I'm relating to something that's a company called House, that according to some is valued around $10 billion, and the first investor was an Israeli angel investor, and he holds more than 10%. So it's a major shift and a major milestone.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to mention to what Gigi said. It's actually what we're trying to also extract, not only in Greece, but in ecosystems that are just currently being built, a shift, at least in this part of the world, trying to bring together the angels and VC funds that they are coming earlier and earlier and earlier in stage of investing. We're bringing in angel investors both as advisors where they bring their value, as you said, to certain things that you know. And it's important. We're using a couple of them from the Valley, and you see the benefit there. And obviously, when they're investing, you're using them as due diligence as well for certain areas. And this shift in how things work is cooperation, and we're trying to build the angel and network as much as we can, because what we do, and being now you have VCs that are part of the 3 Fs, is not common, at least in new ecosystems, but you benefit from the due diligence. So we do need a lot of angel investors in this area to come closer to the early VC funds. It's the way of going, at least, to help the new ecosystems being built.
Understood. Staying on this topic of angels, so we have more sophistication, we have bigger successes, as you indicated earlier, and I think we also have a change in new ways of forming this kind of new democracy or alliance. And here to tell us a bit about that, I guess, Gadi Mazor from our crowd, that has been putting together angel investors. I'm sure you'll tell us about this in a minute. When they began their operation, which is based in Jerusalem, I think almost everybody was cynical about that, and everybody was projecting that...
Including us.
Including yourself. And you know, people were saying this is going to be a tragedy, and apparently it hasn't. So why don't you tell us a bit about how you put angels together?
Sure. So I'll describe how we work, and then I'll actually touch what Gigi said on kind of super angels and VCs. So we are basically a hybrid between a VC. We see ourselves as a hybrid between a VC and an angel investor network. So when a company comes to us, they see something that walks, talks, and walks and quacks like a VC. So they see investment team, they see the whole process of a due diligence. We do meet the companies multiple times, have advisors, the usual process of, we usually do it quicker than most VCs, I would say, you know, a few weeks, but still a due diligence process like a VC, and it ends with a term sheet that is agreed between us and the company. Of course, we, in some cases, join an existing term sheet. And our commitment to invest in the company from our own small fund that we have close to 15 million of investing in those companies. But that's a conditional term sheet, and then the project or the company is opened on the site, and there's a webinar, and there's a launch of the deal 2 days later, when we send an email to the network of over 5,000 angel investors, and I'll touch that in a second because they're not the traditional angel investors, but to our investors that we decide to go invest in this company, and they're invited to join us in exactly the same terms, exactly the same preferences, et cetera, just as we negotiate as a VC. And then we collect the sums. We invest anywhere between $500,000 to $5 million into a company. We collect the sums when a private investor can invest anywhere from $10,000 and up. So a very small ticket relatively to what angel is typically investing of 50 or 100 at the minimum. So a private investor can join with a very minimum price. Some join at 10, 20, 50, 100. The largest ticket price, largest investment in a single company that we got from one investor was $1 million, so all the range. But then we collect the money, we create an entity, a special partnership of those investors, and that entity is investing as one entity into the company. So the company doesn't have a long cap table of angels, it has one entity all coming from us, and we as the fund, we present the investors with all the rights and with all the ongoing monitoring and mentoring and helping of the company afterwards. What's interesting is that when we started that, we didn't know, I mean, the critical question was, can we create a critical mass of investors? We thought the deal flow is not going to be an issue. We know we are embedded, we know the scene, we focused primarily on Israel. We're now about a third of our investment is outside of Israel, but we were less concerned about deal flow, we were more concerned about creating critical mass of investments. And a few months ago, I looked at very tactically at 1 month of investors, and close to 80% of the investors that invested in that month on the platform, that was the first time they invested in private companies. So our platform is not a platform for angel investors or people that see themselves as angel investors. Those are also existing in the network, but the main is basically a way for a new class of investors, private, wealthy, what is called accredited investors, to find and to join a VC type, and that's the first time that they actually do that. Okay?
So that goes with the theme of democratization of the whole.
Absolutely.
Of the
We're
whole
basically
process.
creating a new asset class for people that can and we think should invest in this, but they're not, Guy or Gigi that have the network and the gut feel, but they do have the money, and they basically join either just like sometimes the top angels syndicate the rounds, but they join now a round syndicated by a VC-like organization, and that's and again it was successful. We raised over close to $70 million in last year. So.
Help me on this. How many companies have you invested in already?
We invested in 49 companies, and
49.
49, and we did 11 follow-on rounds in those companies within the year and a half.
Sorry?
11 follow-on rounds.
So you did 11 follow-on rounds in
Yes.
these companies. All right, so that's nice. Any exits to speak of yet?
As of last Friday, we have the first IPO. So
Congratulations.
We invested.
Which company was that?
Argo, Rewalk, the
Rewalk,
exoskeleton.
right.
So we invested there in both rounds. I mean, 2 rounds of the rounds, but we invested twice. We expect and hope to have another one soon.
And tell me, don't companies have a problem when their sort of information is spread to like 5,000 people over the net?
Yes and no. I mean, first of all, we work with the company on what information is open on the site. The site is closed to only our investors, and they signed, confidentiality agreement. But of course, if you open that to something that is open to 5,000, that's by nature public domain. The fact is that we're focusing on Series A, which and not seed, means that most of those companies have a product, have initial traction in the market. So most of the information on the company is already available anyways. I mean, they are in the market. So it's not the company that is a year away from a product and they disclose information. We sometimes work on, I mean, I'll give an example. We had a company that 60% of the last year's revenues were all from one customer. That's information that you don't want to have on the site because you don't want that customer to know that is the majority of the revenues.
Sure.
So there's a way around that.
Okay, interesting. By the way, any questions or comments from our participants? You can open the floor at any time. So if anybody wants to raise an issue, feel free to do that. Okay? So, thank you. Imre.